Whenever a woman wants to prove her love because as a child she felt like that was the only way that she was safe. And so this woman becomes a woman who overgives. And this is unconsciously. It's not something that you think about to do. Giving is actually a masculine energy. Projecting, pushing outwards, output, productivity, doing are all masculine attributes. This means that a woman is in a woman's body, but she's acting as a masculine through overgiving, which means there isn't room for her to receive anything until she shifts into her feminine energy. Feminine energy is receptive. Feminine energy can also be categorized by taking, investment, receiving deposits. So a lot of women who are going through this awakening that have been codependent has an unhealthy attachment to giving in an effort to achieve the outcome of experiencing more love. What type of man will she attract? If you know any of the basics of laws of the universe or laws of hermetics, you know that there is this pendulum swing of polarity. We used to say opposites attract. So she's going to attract a man who feels underappreciated, who feels malnourished in regards to feminine energy. So he's in need of someone to soothe his wounds that are connected to mother wounds. And he needs someone to give to him the way a mother would give, not ever expecting reciprocity, which means in his wounded self, there is a sense of entitlement. And all children have this sense of entitlement. No child is ever concerned about how stressful it is for my mother to breastfeed me. I just know that I need to eat. I need to survive. It's my instincts. A child operates in their primal instincts. And so when the wounded aspect of a man or woman in that inner child energy has not been healed, we will attract exactly what we need to provide the counterbalance to allow us to step into a more healed narrative through learning these lessons in alchemical classrooms that we call relationships. And in those relationships, we will have trauma reenactments that we're playing out to have an opportunity to respond differently so that we can begin the journey of becoming a healed woman, a healed man. A woman who is codependent, that only feels safe when she can make others feel safe, that only feels safe when those that she's attached to in her life are emotionally regulated, is a woman who will never feel a sense of power within herself. And she will always attach her value and her worth to how well loved people around her feel. But we must realize our perception is different. So it doesn't matter how much you give, how much you do. It's not ever going to be enough. And that doesn't mean that you're bad, and that doesn't mean that whoever is on the other end of this is bad. It's just a mirror so that we can see the shadows that have been keeping the collective from healing, from breaking cycles, from shifting the paradigm. We have to see and experience these things in order to change them. You can't heal a wound that is covered under a whole lot of makeup. The makeup has to come off. The makeup represents the illusions. And astrologically, right now, for those of us who know, this is the lesson that we're learning. Now, I'm not an astrologer. I am a clairvoyant, oracle, intuitive medium, whatever you want to call it. I'm all of those things. And so I translate the energy. And right now we have a large majority of weak masculine men who are living in this shadow that Carl Jung depicted as the immature masculine. It's like the Peter Pan syndrome. And if you really look at them energetically, inside of that man's body is a little boy who did not feel loved, who did not feel seen, appreciated, and accepted. And if you look at the woman inside of that woman energetically, if you look at her through your third eye, you'll see that little girl who had to be hyper responsible, maybe grew up too fast, was parentified, had to learn how to be mature and to operate as an adult, to be a provider, to be a giver, to be the emotional manager, to be the one that holds things together. This is the karma that we're clearing right now. This has caused just as much damage as colonization of our minds and psychological enslavement. This is a huge part of that. And you cannot step into spiritual power until you heal these aspects. And so this doesn't mean anybody is bad. And a lot of relationships are struggling right now for those of us who have a contract and we're ready to step outside of the illusion. A lot of us are having difficulties in our relationship because the inner child inside of us that was wounded, that we didn't know needed healing, is crying out and coming to the surface. It's in pain, it's grieving. But we're having to go through our day-to-day life and check off all the boxes of the 3D matrix, and stuff is just getting added on by the day as the economy is shifting into everything being so expensive, and all of these things are happening. It's keeping us in survival mode. It's keeping us focused on things that actually divide us and do not lead to unification. And so this is why I don't believe that a lot of relationships just need to end. I think a lot of relationships need to actually do the shadow work, heal the inner child, learn the difference between masculine attributes and feminine attributes, and learn when they're operating within their sacred energy or their scared energy. And by learning these things and doing this, we call this EQ, emotional intelligence, right? The emotional quotient. By doing these things, the spiritual abilities that are coming online will be able to be used in a way that's not going to be hurtful. But a spiritual minded person who isn't doing this work, who is emotionally dysregulated and semi-aware or unaware of themselves, you're not going to know the damage and the chaos that you're creating. So I don't think that this has anything to do with whether or not we're bad people. We're wounded. We're a wounded generation who is figuring it out as we go. And a lot of the monotheistic religions solutions that was offered no longer work. And that's going to leave a lot of people searching for ways to heal that's not going to be found in any particular book, because it's written within us. It's written in our Akashic records, in our soul contract. It is in our cellular DNA. The ancestral intelligence is within us. And we're being called right now to shift back to that. This is the true work. This is the true alchemy. There is no story of evolution for a soul without these experiences. So whatever you're going through, know that that pain has a purpose. Don't get lost in the illusions and the void. You have purpose.